Hey Warriors fans, we need to talk about what went down in the last game because it was one of those nights that really test the depth and resilience of this team. Without Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, and Draymond Green, Golden State fell 5 points short against the Sacramento Kings, losing 121 to 116. And if you're looking for a simple takeaway from this game, it comes down to turnovers. The Warriors committed 18 of them, which led to Sacramento scoring 30 points directly off those mistakes, while Golden State only managed to convert 11 points from the Kings' turnovers. It's a huge gap, and when you're missing 3 of your most reliable ball handlers, you can almost predict how chaotic the game will get. The absence of Curry, Butler, and Green created a ripple effect across the court, leaving the team scrambling to maintain control and composure in critical moments. Now, even with all the frustration that comes from losing close games, there were some bright spots to notice. Golden State is sitting at 5 wins and 4 losses, which on paper doesn't sound terrible, but when you consider that the team has dropped games it realistically should have taken, it becomes a bigger concern. There were games earlier in the season where the Warriors were facing opponents without their full roster, yet still couldn't capitalize. And now losing a game without the 3 key veterans only adds to the urgency for the younger players to step up. It's clear that the team has a long way to go in terms of consistency, especially when the starters are unavailable. And part of that inconsistency is amplified by shooting struggles from the big man. Al Horford, for instance, had a rough night offensively, continuing a slump from beyond the arc. His numbers aren't just bad for one game. Going 0 for 7 in this matchup and 5 for 24 overall from three-point range is significant. Even though Horford contributed in other areas like rebounding and defense, the inability to hit shots consistently puts more pressure on the guards and wing players to carry the offensive load, which isn't sustainable over a season. The missing veterans were all sidelined for different reasons. Steph Curry was out due to illness, reporting that his symptoms worsened overnight, while Draymond Green was inexplicably ruled out right before the game, leaving questions about whether it was rest, soreness, or something else entirely. Jimmy Butler, meanwhile, was still managing lower back soreness from the previous game against the Phoenix Suns, which limited his mobility and effectiveness. With all 3 out, the team's young players were forced into the spotlight, and while they showed flashes of talent, the lack of experience in handling high-pressure situations became obvious. Sacrificing composure, making poor decisions in the clutch, and struggling to control turnovers were all consequences of relying too heavily on players who are still finding their footing in the NBA. Jonathan Kuminga, for example, showed promise in the first half, scoring efficiently and grabbing multiple rebounds, but he ran into trouble as the game progressed. He accumulated 4 fouls in the second half, which forced him to play more cautiously on defense, and he ended up committing 5 turnovers. One sequence near the end of the game perfectly illustrates the struggles that can come with inexperience. With the Warriors down by less than a dozen points and a chance to tie or take the lead, Kuminga had the ball at the top of the key, 3 feet away from a defender, yet hesitated instead of taking the open 3-point shot. He attempted a mid-range fadeaway instead of driving to the basket, missing the chance to score an easy layup and keeping the team from closing the gap at a crucial moment. Moments like these define games at this level, and they show why experience matters so much in crunch time. Other young players also face challenges. Pochke handled the ball aggressively, creating 9 assists but also committing 4 turnovers. Trace Jackson-Davis and Pat Spencer were limited contributors, with Spencer, in particular, struggling defensively and ending the game with a -19 rating. The Warriors' bigs, as a unit, didn't provide much of a threat offensively. Horford struggled to hit his outside shots, and Quentin Post didn't offer significant scoring, leaving gaps in the rotation that the opposition could exploit. Without reliable scoring from the front court and without the ball-handling skills of Curry, Butler, or Green, the team relied on hustle, effort, and occasional flashes of talent from younger players to try to keep up with Sacramento. Despite all this, there were encouraging performances that show Golden State has talent waiting to emerge. Moses Moody, for instance, has been absolutely electric over the back-to-back games. Against Sacramento, he scored 28 points, complementing a 24-point game against Phoenix the night before. Over those 2 games, he hit 11 of 19 three-pointers, demonstrating a level of consistency and efficiency that feels almost robotic in the best possible way. Moody is not just a scorer. He reads the game well, makes smart passes, finds open shooters, and contributes defensively with blocks and rotations that disrupt the opponent's flow. His performance is a glimpse of what this young core can become when given meaningful minutes and the freedom to operate within the offense. Well, Richard also made a statement in the Sacramento game, dropping 30 points along with 7 rebounds and 5 offensive boards. What's more impressive than the numbers is the way he approaches the game. He's composed, makes smart decisions with the ball, and finds ways to contribute on both ends of the floor. Even as a rookie, he showed poise reminiscent of a veteran, controlling the tempo during critical stretches and making plays that matter. Richard scored 12 of the first 16 points for Golden State in that game and continued to make a difference by creating turnovers, cutting effectively without the ball, and hitting key shots in rhythm. With Moody and Richard playing at this level, the Warriors suddenly have 2 young players capable of carrying the load when the veterans are out, providing a foundation to build around for the rest of the season. The takeaway here is that while the Warriors struggled without their stars, there are pieces in place that could keep the team competitive. The young players have shown they can step up, but there's still a learning curve when it comes to decision-making, composure, and handling pressure. Players like Kuminga need to reduce turnovers and maintain focus on both ends of the court, while Horford and Post need to rediscover their offensive rhythm to provide balance. Moody and Richard are emerging as reliable contributors, and their development will be critical if Golden State hopes to weather the inevitable stretches when Curry, Butler, or Green are unavailable. The rotation will need refinement. Minutes will need to be carefully managed, and the team must find ways to close games even in the absence of key veterans. Even with all the struggles, the resilience and adaptability of this team are evident. There were mistakes, sure, but there were also moments of brilliance that indicate the Warriors are far from out of the race. The challenge now is integrating the young talent effectively, managing the minutes of the older stars, and finding a way to turn close losses into wins. If Golden State can balance these elements, they have the potential to navigate a tough season and remain competitive in a league where experience and depth are constantly tested. For fans, it's a mix of frustration and hope, knowing that while the team is vulnerable without its leaders, the future looks bright if the youngsters continue to rise to the occasion. Picking up where we left off, let's dive deeper into the performances that truly stood out in this Golden State Warriors game. Because while the loss stings, there were clear signs that the future is beginning to take shape in Oakland. Moses Moody and Will Richard didn't just fill stat sheets. They dictated stretches of the game and showed an understanding of spacing, timing, and defensive awareness that is rare for players this young. Moody's ability to read the defense and find open shooters, while also being a reliable finisher when the lane opens up, has elevated him into a role that Golden State can rely on, even without the established stars on the floor. What makes him even more impressive is how calm he remains under pressure. He doesn't rush shots, he doesn't force plays, and yet his scoring impact is undeniable. In a back-to-back stretch, 26 points per game on average, along with multiple rebounds, blocks, and key passes, highlights not just skill, but also consistency, something the Warriors have needed from their younger rotation pieces for a long time. Well, Richard's emergence has been equally compelling. Dropping 30 points against Sacramento, with multiple offensive rebounds and controlled ball handling, he demonstrates that he can be a stabilizing force on both ends of the court. What makes Richard different from other young players is his approach. He is fundamentally sound, makes calculated decisions, and even in the heat of a close game, he doesn't overextend or gamble unnecessarily. His ability to convert early momentum into sustained pressure on the opponent, while also staying engaged defensively, shows maturity beyond his years. For Golden State, this is crucial. When you're missing Curry, Butler, and Green, having 2 young players who can manage their minutes intelligently, contribute on defense, and make high-impact plays on offense changes the dynamic of what the team can realistically achieve. Even beyond Moody and Richard, there are small but important takeaways about how the Warriors' young core is developing. Jonathan Kuminga, despite the struggles with turnovers and fouls, shows glimpses of high-level basketball IQ. He can rebound, score efficiently when allowed to attack the basket, and create offensive opportunities for his teammates. The issue isn't talent, it's experience. When Kuminga makes the wrong read or hesitates at the wrong time, it's usually a product of inexperience rather than a lack of skill. Over the course of a season, if he continues to get minutes and is guided properly by the veterans, he could evolve into a two-way player capable of impacting games on both ends, similar to what Moody and Richard are starting to do now. The game also highlights a larger issue with Golden State's big men and their spacing. Al Horford and Quentin Post were largely neutralized defensively. Horford's inability to knock down three-pointers combined with Post's limited production leaves the team vulnerable when the ball isn't in the hands of the primary scorers. It forces the wings and guards to carry a heavier load, which is manageable in short stretches but can become exhausting and risky over the course of an entire season. The young players can't always compensate for the lack of shooting and floor spacing from the frontcourt, which is why integrating them with the veterans is essential. The rotation needs to strike a balance between letting Moody and Richard maximize their potential, giving Kuminga and others room to grow, while ensuring the floor spacing and experience of Curry, Butler, and Green are utilized efficiently. Anthony Melton's absence has also been a significant factor. His ability to slow the game down, control pace, and reduce turnovers is sorely missed, especially in games like this where the ball handling burden shifts to less experienced players. Without him, the Warriors were forced to rely on players like Kuminga and the other young wings to manage the offense under pressure. This is not an easy task, and the turnovers that piled up reflect how much Melton's presence matters. When he returns, it will provide a stabilizing influence that could help the team convert some of these close losses into wins. The mix of veteran leadership and young talent is what will define the team's ability to navigate the long stretches of the season where injuries and absences are inevitable. Defensively, there were encouraging moments as well. Moses Moody's impact on the defensive end cannot be overstated. 4 blocks, multiple deflections, and smart rotations demonstrate that he can affect the game even without scoring. While Richard's energy on defense, combined with his ability to contest shots and create turnovers, adds another layer to the Warriors' versatility. The combination of defensive effort and offensive creativity from these two young players is exactly what the Warriors need to counteract the inconsistencies caused by missing star players. Even with the veterans absent, these performances prove that the team can still compete at a high level if the young players maintain focus and execute smart decisions. Before we continue, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any exclusive Dubs updates. Let's keep going. Rumors are swirling around the Golden State Warriors locker room, and the latest bombshell comes directly from none other than Draymond Green. Known for his fierce competitiveness and blunt honesty, Green reportedly unleashed a candid assessment of the team, one that insiders say no one wanted to hear. According to whispers circulating among reporters and analysts, the veteran forward did not hold back, openly admitting that the Warriors are struggling and that the roster, as it stands, might be far from championship caliber. Sources close to the team claim Green's frustrations have been simmering for weeks. Practices and meetings, normally filled with a confident swagger reflective of Golden State's dynastic past, have allegedly been marked by tense exchanges and pointed critiques from the outspoken forward. Green's message, insiders say, was clear. Talent gaps and inconsistent play have left the team vulnerable, and relying solely on past glories won't carry them through this season. He basically told the truth. One source murmured, even if it stings. The Warriors, of course, are no strangers to internal drama being amplified by the media. But what makes Green's alleged comments particularly striking is the timing. Coming off a string of underwhelming performances, the team's vulnerabilities have become more visible than ever. Observers note that the supporting cast has struggled to provide the kind of consistent production that fans have come to expect alongside Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, and Green himself. Rumors suggest that this candid admission from Green may be a wake-up call or a warning shot for the front office to take decisive action before the team's championship window closes further. Fans on social media are already buzzing, dissecting every word attributed to Green, with some expressing shock at his bluntness and others praising his honesty. Analysts speculate whether such transparency will galvanize the locker room or deepen existing tensions. Regardless, the whispers suggest that Golden State's internal landscape is far from serene. The Warriors may have once dominated the league with cohesion and talent, but if Green's words hold any truth, this iteration of the team is grappling with deeper issues than anyone expected. As the season progresses, eyes will be on Green not just for his on-court leadership, but for how his candid critique may ripple through a roster searching for answers. The Warriors' faithful hope that this internal alarm bell sparks the necessary adjustments. But for now, the rumor mill paints a picture of a team at a crossroads, with Draymond Green as both critic and conscience. Stay updated exclusively with the latest Dub Nation news. Subscribe to our channel and hit the like button to keep getting daily updates on the Warriors. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments. Your input is essential for the Dubs community. Stay tuned for the next video.